How's it going? The Toronto Raptors lose 123 to 89, and it was not particularly close. I got to tell you, after the first quarter, they were pretty much dead even. I know it was 32 to 27, and already the Kings were winning, but they were matching them even. Just about everything from effort to execution. And yeah, the Raptors are playing over their heads, but you're like, man, was this a trap game for the Kings? Is it possible? Is it maybe likely that the Raptors can make this interesting and kind of fizzle out in the fourth quarter? Those are the types of losses you like to see. Unfortunately for the Raptors, they had a stinker of a game, if ever there was one. And this game was humiliating, actually. There's so many thoughts I had during this game. I thought, has a coach ever just gone up to the referee and waved a white flag and just said, you know what? What's the point? Let these people go home. Let these people just go home so they do not have to suffer through this. Has that ever happened before? Maybe. Should have happened tonight. Because after that second quarter, it was pretty obvious the Raptors were not interested in playing basketball tonight. The execution was abysmal. There were some incredible turnovers. To anybody who's going to say, oh my God, the number of turnovers the Raptors had tonight, and they had a lot. Let's just take a look at it real quick. Are they close to the NBA record? No, not even close. The NBA record, if I recall correctly, was set in 1971. March, ironically. March is a bad month for turnovers, apparently. Going back historically, March 1971 against the Boston Celtics. I think it was the San Francisco Warriors. So the Toronto, and they had 45 turnovers that game. So, and then the pace was very fast for those of you who now watch, 70s basketball. Pace was incredibly fast. So 45 turnovers is, relatively in a very fast paced game. But I will say tonight, the Raptors had 22 turnovers. The Kings, not much better, 16 turnovers. Both, were very turnovers, but the Kings had 36 fast break points. The Raptors had the worst type of turnovers, which is they're not dead ball turnovers. They had live ball turnovers, and they had them all night. And none of those turnover machines was as egregious to me as Bruce Brown and Jordan Nwora. Like, they were really bad. I guess Mohamedou Gay, but he's a G League guy, right? It's like you hold him to a slightly different standard. Bruce Brown, Jordan Nwora, these guys have held rotation spots on really good teams before, contenders, and they should be better than this, and they're not. And I'd say Jalen McDaniel should be better than he was tonight, and he wasn't, right? And you could argue that Grady Dick, despite the fact that he started out really impressive, man, really impressive. Like, maybe the shot wasn't falling and he didn't make his first shot until the second half when he made that three, and he was 0 for up until that point. But man, some of the passing and playmaking and just the reads and the actions and the stuff that he was doing, was very impressive. And I was like, is Grady Dick running point guard for the Raptors? And is it looking okay? And, the more they went away from that, the worse it got. I think Ochai had a very decent set of plays. Like, if you just made a highlight tape out of what he did tonight, it looked good. There was that nifty little reverse layup, which showed a little bit more of that finishing ability, which he's been really lacking in the NBA level. So I thought that was encouraging. Although, don't listen to the commentary about it. Like, yo, can I just do a little PSA here for Jack Armstrong and Matt Devlin, just in case y'all hear this, or, Alvin Williams or anybody else who calls these games, bro? These games are depressing to watch. Can y'all at least watch the game? Just so in the event that something exciting happens, like, I don't know, a 23-year-old going up and around and doing a little reverse layup, that you can do a little bit more than just say 2 points by Ochai Agbaji. Like, for real. Like, can we be for real here? Like, that was a pretty impressive play. It, required a little bit of hang time. And the enthusiasm I'm getting for this is like, guy walks onto the court, guy walks off the bench. It's like so monotonous. And look, I get it. The Raptors are not going to win this game. I said, before the game on Twitter, if you follow Pensari Basketball at Pensari B-Ball on Twitter, that this was like a guaranteed loss. Like, this is not even close, right? The betting line on this, I think, was like 115, 1.15. So basically, you bet $100, you get $115. I very, very, very seriously considered just like, I don't know, doing something crazy. Like, can I just withdraw $10,000 to make a $1,500 profit on this? Because it's not close. It's not possible. You cannot win this game. Of course, there's a way to make it competitive, though, and the Raptors didn't make it competitive. And you know what? I think a lot of that comes down to just how outmatched they are in the front court, how small they are across the board. The fact that they do not have a point guard on this roster right now, right? I mean, nobody is mistaking Javon Freeman Liberty for a point guard, and he's a guard. He's a combo guard, right? Ochai and Gary Trent are typically they're nothing close to guards. Like they're wings. Like when I say a guard, I think Jalen Williams, J-Dub. That's a guard. You know what I mean? That's a guy who can handle ball pressure. He's a guy who can create for others reasonably well. I mean, Grady Dick and Bruce Brown were really your guards here. So that means what? Gary Trent and Ochai were your forwards? This entire roster makes no sense right now. But of course, you're playing without a lot of key guys. You're playing without Jakob Poeltl. You're playing without Scotty Barnes. You're playing without RJ Barrett. And yeah, you might say, how good's RJ Barrett really, Rob? It's not like he's going to swing this game for you. I could pretty much guarantee you if RJ and Emmanuel quickly play this game, you probably still lose. But it wouldn't be this bad. Here's the thing. Y'all remember the Titanic? The film, the Titanic? You remember that whole thing about like, oh, if this many compartments flood, she can stand. But if the fifth one floods, it's like she's going to topple. Well, here's the point. That's exactly it. That's exactly a perfect metaphor. I find boats and sailing and all sorts of examples to be great metaphors for all things in life, especially basketball. You think about what you've lost, right? So you lose the OG and Pascal. There goes your first center. Like boom, like that's your first flood. I mean, first of all, your first flood is replacing Fred VanVleet with Dennis Schroeder. There goes your first compartment. That's a flood. Then you send out Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby. There's your second compartment flooded, right? And then your third compartment flooded is, of course, Scotty Barnes injury. Your fourth one is, Jakob Poeltl injury. Because if Jakob Poeltl plays this game, maybe you make it somewhat competitive, right? I mean, you won't win. You certainly will not win. You'll still be a very like a very flooded boat, but you won't capsize. You won't completely crack in half. And then you lose RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly as well. And now it's just like, it's hopeless. It's really hopeless, right? This team is hopeless in that sense. So I'm just like, hey, what are we doing here? Can we lower these ticket prices so that maybe some people who are, unable to afford can just go to these games? Like, how are you guys selling tickets to these games? I wouldn't pay $10 to watch the Toronto Raptors right now. What am I watching? 35-point blowouts in which my team is not even remotely competitive, in which there's turnovers and dunks. I mean, maybe it's more entertaining to have a whole bunch of dunks. There were some doozies in this game. I feel this game really turned around for the Sacramento Kings when Malik Monk came into the game. He only played 20 minutes tonight. He had 17 points. I don't know if I buy it. I don't know if I buy that he's this good. Right? I mean, he's been this good all year, but contract season bias aside, I don't know if he's this good. But if he's this good, someone will be very lucky to have him. He is an incredibly underrated passer. He is an incredibly underrated athlete. Like, man, when people talk about like some of the best in-game dunkers in the NBA, he should be on that list because he has had some real throwdowns. Speaking of highlight moments, all the shit that, you say about Jordan Nwora for this game, his shot making was elite. And nothing was more elite than that behind the back or through the legs, dribble / running hook thing that he did. That was very cool. That was very nifty. And it kind of gives you a glimpse into some of the talent that he possesses and craft that he possesses. Unfortunately, it didn't happen too often. Then you had Jameis Ramsey, who had 11 points off the bench. He was, relatively efficient, 5 for 8. He had a couple of really ugly turnovers, which probably, sour, because of how they look. It's one thing to get a turnover on a charge, a loose ball foul, etc. Those are all turnovers, but he just threw it to the other team, right? And then it was a boom transition the other way. So I think overall, you got to be impressed with him for a 10-day guy. I think he's really earned some respect around the league for this. But obviously he's playing for very dilapidated and somewhat depleted rosters. In terms of Gary Trent Jr., not a very efficient night. per se, but I mean, he kept them afloat as long as he could in the first quarter. And then I think he's probably the closest thing they have to a first option right now on the court, which is a crazy thought, right? Because he was a fifth option for you last year, and he was a fifth option for you. I mean, he wasn't even a first option in Tampa. He was like the fourth option in Tampa. So, you know, again, it's nice to put into context just where you're at. Kelly Olynyk, I think a very disappointing game overall, man. I mean, apart from getting completely obliterated on the glass by Domantas Sabonis, and it's just like, that's no shade. I mean, everyone's getting obliterated on the glass by Domantas Sabonis. But I think 9 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and he had probably the sorriest 1.5 minute stretch that I've ever seen of any Raptor individually put together this year, other than maybe the usual suspects. And by the usual suspects, I mean Dennis Schroeder and, you know, someone like Jalen McDaniels. Like, this was a turnover mixed with a terrible defensive play, mixed with another turnover, mixed with not getting back on defense. Like, it's contagious, man. Energy is contagious. On the basketball court, energy is contagious. That's why I don't like building around players who don't defend. I'm not saying Kelly doesn't defend. He's a fairly competent defender per the analytics and per the eye test. He does a lot of good things defensively. What I'm saying is, in general, when your leaders stop competing, everybody stops competing. And right now, you know, for better or for worse, Kelly Olynyk is your leader out there. I mean, he may not be a very long-term tenured Raptor, but he and Bruce Brown and Gary Trent Jr. are setting the tone for their younger teammates. And so they have to bring it. And I don't think any one of those guys really brought it defensively. I don't think they brought it in terms of toughness. And, you know, there's pride. There's pride here. You can lose. Yeah, absolutely. No one here is rooting for wins. We want that pick. We don't want to convey, you know, a seventh overall pick to the San Antonio Spurs. I get it. I get that. But there's a way to lose. There's a way to lose with your head held high. You know, there's a way to lose where, you know, I'm sorry, you just, when you're losing by 30, you're not even getting development reps because you're not getting the full force of the other team, right? So such a wild swing of emotions in this game, because in the first quarter, I was like, this is perfect, right? Not just because it was competitive and because the Raptors were playing a fairly good brand of basketball, which, by the way, is very similar to the brand of basketball that the Kings play, but the Kings just have much, much better players. It was just that you're artificially removing things, and I've talked about this before in previous lives, and you're artificially removing elements of your roster like a rim protector or a traditional point guard, and you're forcing guys into simulation in which they have to do something with a handicap. And I likened it before to playing basketball with the ankle weights or playing basketball with a heavy ball, right? But nobody said go and show up with a heavy ball and then, you know, spit on the heavy ball. No one said, you know, show up in ankle weights and then just sit down in the middle of the gym and don't move. No, you actually got to move in order for the ankle weights to work, which means you got to take jump shots like you're trying to make them with the heavy ball for it to work, which means you have to compete, transition, you have to get back. I mean, I'm sorry, like, I get it, tanking, whatever, but this was reminiscent of, honestly, the process Sixers. This is the type of basketball they played. You know, I mean, okay, that's going too far. That's hyperbole. I apologize. Let me revoke that, because nothing is as bad as what that team did. But there's a way to lose where you're competitive, and I don't think the Sacramento Kings played so great that you had to lose to them by 30 plus points. I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't see a team on the other end that's great. You know, there's some legitimate concern that the Sacramento Kings could miss the playoffs. I'm sorry, I'm listening to Raptors podcasters and analysts calling them a great team. They are 40-28. They are not a great team. Okay. They are probably going to get bounced in the first round. They are not a great team. If they're a great team, then 10 other teams are great teams. How many great teams do you think there are? You didn't lose by 30 to the Boston Celtics or the Denver Nuggets. You not lose by 30 even to Kyrie and Luka. Like, you lost by 30 points, really, in a game where, I'm sorry, this is soft work for De'Aaron Fox, 28 minutes, you know? Who are you losing to in this game? I mean, Domantas Sabonis took 7 shots. Now, who are you losing to? You're losing to Chris Duarte getting backdoor cuts and dunks and putbacks. You're losing to Malik Monk just beating everyone down in transition. You're losing to Edwards. Kessler Edwards? I can't remember his first name. I mean, these are the guys you're losing to. And you losing to Harrison Barnes getting dump offs and open dunks. Like this is a pride thing. I hope that Darko has like some strong words for his team because and look, I empathize with players too. It's very difficult to see on a night to night basis just that you are outmatched and you have no chance, right? But there has to be an intellectual curiosity. There has to be a personal pride and an intellectual curiosity to see like what can happen if we try as hard as we want. The effort, it should be non-negotiable at this point. The effort and the process should be non-negotiable. I like the fact that the Raptors continue to stick to the game plan. I will say that. I have not seen a reversion back to, oh, let me just go one-on-one and let me try to do this. There's been a little bit of that. Some elements of isolation scoring are going to be there. And I'm not saying the Raptors executed perfectly, but you can see the guys are trying to execute, which is why you're getting so many turnovers because you just don't have passing talent. So, yeah, overall, this was not a good game to watch. It was not a good game, and I'm truly very, very sorry if you attended this game live, especially if you took your kid to this for a birthday. You know what I mean? Like, when I was younger, like I used to get like a game for like a special occasion. You know what I mean? And if that game sucks, it felt like my year sucked, right? So I empathize that there are people out there who are barely scraping by and barely, making ends meet. And, they're buying, $200 tickets to go see the Sacramento Kings. Of course, 3-4 months in advance, they're buying tickets to see the Sacramento Kings and expecting, to see Scotty Barnes, whoop DeMontis Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox or something. And then you're being treated to, the Ellis versus Jonte Porter matchup. I don't know. Jonte Porter didn't have much of an impact in this game. He went out with a sickness. So anyways, so in terms of the Raptors versus, the Kings overall stats, the Kings take 13 more shots. Obviously, they got a lot more turnover. They had a lot fewer turnovers. They out-rebound the Raptors 53-31. Jeez. They outshoot them from the line. The Raptors unbelievably get a very cold three-point shooting night from the Kings. They are one of the better high-volume three-point shooting teams. They generate a ton of threes. They did not shoot the ball well tonight. I think the Raptors defense had a little bit to do with that. I'll give them credit where credit is due a little bit, but it wasn't everything. There were a ton of open threes that were missed tonight. In terms of assists, the Raptors get 21 assists. This is not what Darko wants. The Kings get more steals, more blocks. They have fewer turnovers. They obviously have way, way, way more points off of turnovers. Like fast break points it's in everything is in their advantage. And once again, the Raptors clip over 60 points in the paint. They give up 68. It's a buffet right now, right? It's a buffet. It's kind of sad to see this, but it is what it is. And that's where we're at right now. I do want to shout out very quickly one thing here. Today was my first day on Player's Choice, and I just want to quickly show y'all what happened here. It was cool. It was really cool, man. So this is the video here. No one can stop these NBA guards right now. If y'all see it, definitely go check the video out. Go give it a like, whatever. I was there for 3 hours talking about guards in the NBA. Had a pretty long diatribe about how good I think Desmond Bane is. It was a pretty lively discussion. If you enjoy watching real hoop talk, if you like, I don't know, we call it barbershop talk. If you like that kind of, back and forth, it's not disrespectful. It was very respectful. It was a really good conversation. I think there's some gems in there, but obviously if you're very familiar with me, you already know that I like Desmond Bane a lot, and I like John Morant a lot, and I like James Harden a lot, and I'm not a fan of certain players, so yeah. Ironically, it probably was the biggest Fred VanVleet fan on the panel, so that was hilarious and somewhat interesting. But yeah, the panel is a cool show. I might be on tomorrow as well. I don't know, but maybe I'll be on next week. I'll keep y'all posted on Instagram about when I'll be on that show. But it was cool. It was really cool to do that. Towards the end of this show, I will share some revelations a little bit because the last 2 to 3 days have been extremely powerful, very mind altering and very cool in terms of just understanding myself and understanding a few things about life. So that was very interesting. And today was a ridiculously funny day because I mean, it started out great in the morning, and I had this like real momentum because I've needed to change my doors for 2 years. Okay, 2 years. Lately, I mean, I used to be the type of person where, I found out on Tuesday at 9 a.m. that I got to do something, and Tuesday at 10 a.m. it was done. That's who I used to be. Lately, especially since the pandemic in the last 3 years, I'm the type of person that finds out that on Tuesday I got to do something, and then on Wednesday I make a plan to do it, and then Thursday I remind myself that I didn't do it on Tuesday, and then 3.5 months pass by, and then I might think about putting it down on a piece of paper. It's been crazy how procrastinating I've been. That's not even a word, but how delayed I've been with a lot of stuff, and some very critical stuff and very important stuff that I've just put off for like ever and ever. And it goes also to this channel and content videos. Like I said I was going to make a KD doc. I made it. And then I just decided it wasn't good and I scrapped it, and I don't know where it is, because I'm disorganized as hell. And then I said I was going to do a Jonte Porter video. And then I remember at one point last year I said I was gonna release that video where I went to the game and I looked at Jeff Doughton only throughout the entire game, and there's all these clips, and it's just like, shoot, man, you said you were gonna do these things, you didn't do them, and yeah, it was interesting. So this morning I decided I was gonna get new doors. I'm like, damn it, I'm gonna get new doors. Like this is my task for the morning. I'm gonna get new doors. And I found this guy on Facebook Marketplace, and he had these doors for $50 a piece. And I was like, shit, okay, let me get 3. And I measured my doors, and he, he had the same measurement of the doors, 30 by 80. So I negotiated him down a little bit on the delivery price. So I paid him $165 with delivery for these doors, lugged them upstairs. They're pretty heavy because I haven't been going to the gym a lot. Lug them upstairs, and then what happens? I figured out that the knob was in the completely wrong place. I thought this was standard issue. I really did. I thought if you had an 80-inch tall door that the knob is at 40 inches. No, these knobs are all over the place. So then I had to call him up and beg him to come back and take these doors back. And I lost $50 in that exchange of just paying him $25 basically to bring it, and then $25 to bring it back. And I was just like, this day is so infuriating. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, that was a completely random, totally disconnected story, but yeah, I promise the thoughts that I have about everything else are much clearer after. But let's bring on SGE. SGE, what's going on, man?
I was so angry, but your door story calmed me down.
That's great.
Sorry about the doors, bro.
It's okay. I gotta figure out. I gotta figure.
That's a good deal, though. I know. I worked at Home Depot when I was like 17. That's a pretty good deal on doors, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
$50 a door for that size. That's pretty good. There's so many places I could take my frustration, but you're kind of already saying what I'm angry about. And I'm always the angry guy, I feel like, in the comments, in the chat. So I don't know how to really go about it, but I'm just going to go where I think it needs to go first. One, Team USA needs to look at how bad the Raptors have fallen off and consider Scotty Barnes for Team USA. If we are that good with Scotty Barnes and we are this bad without
we weren't
Scotty
that
Barnes,
good with him, and we're not like can we factor in that the boat theory that I presented earlier? Like he's a big part of it, but he is not single-handedly, okay, here's the question. If he played tonight, would you win?
No, not at all. But hold on, the competitive spirit in the game, he has these intangibles that he brings to the game that you can't quantify. He has this like fervor that he has in his heart that he sparks in other people. Remember the Spurs game? It's just his will. Some people have it, some people don't, and we both see it in Scotty. And
for sure.
if I'm Ty Lue, if I'm Eric Spoelstra, I was looking at the Team USA list today.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm Steve Kerr, I'm like, God damn, this team is horrendous without Scotty. And this is where I really want to take a lot of my frustration. I view trading a first for Ochai and Kelly, it's like you're going paycheck to paycheck and you're ordering Uber Eats every day. That's how I view that trade. How are you in any way, shape, or form able to trade a first round pick in this juncture in your NBA, I don't know, cycle?
that first round pick will belong to OKC, and it most likely will land at 27 or 28, right? You have the 32nd pick. So maybe it's a matter of how many roster spots are you willing to devote to picks, and what is the leverage that you have on those picks if everyone knows you need to dump one. You would end up having to give it up for a couple of seconds anyway, right? So here's the thing. And late firsts, the market value on a late first is usually, unless there's a prospect that is falling like a Cam Whitmore or something, it's usually 2 seconds. Like a 28th pick will go for 2 seconds. So here's the question. Would you have traded, let's just say we flash forward, would you have traded Kelly Olynyk and Ochai Agbaji for a couple seconds?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the point. You're getting too caught up on it's a first round pick.
No. We got to stay right there because it is some of these guys I don't even value as a 27th pick. Some of these guys on the roster, I'm just like, it's cataclysmic what's happened and the run that Bobby and Masai have been on. Some Ochai is not even a guy that I was even remotely interested in, and I feel like Danny Ainge kind of hoodwinked you by getting a first out of that. It doesn't matter what the quality of the first is. I'm just saying,
but it does.
We're so devoid of talent. Roll the dice. That's all I'm saying.
But the line of first and second is arbitrary. I promise you, it is. It's arbitrary. It's an arbitrary line. It's a line drawn at 30 for no reason whatsoever, because there are certain drafts where the line should have been drawn at 40. There was plenty of first round talent and well into the second round.
No, I'll take his 27th round pick when you're calling them the process sixer, and I'm like, yeah, we are the process sixers without Scotty.
Okay, but I took that back immediately for a reason, because we're not the process sixers. I watched the process sixers. They were horrible.
Sam Hankey's my favorite GM. I watched it too. I think he's massively underrated, and
I think he's stupidly overrated.
But everybody thinks he sucks. I know I'm in like the dark with that one. But
no, he has a cult following, and so does Daryl Morey, and so does Sam Presti, like a lot of these guys, because they're giving into the mystery box theory of everything, right? Which is to say, I can give you a chocolate or I can give you a Kinder Egg, right? Now, Kinder Eggs are a massive ripoff, but they come with the variable for your child to open up a toy. It's like, you take that toy out of the equation and that chocolate is useless, right? So that's kind of like how I see these future first round picks and whatever. Sometimes it's a very big gamble. It's a very big gamble. And most of the times it's not going to pay out. And then sometimes if you're incredibly smart, like if you are Danny Ainge or whatever, you will often extract, a Jason Tatum or a Jaylen Brown in that situation, right? Because you see the other team. Like there was have you read the book by Mark Manson, Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck?
Oh my God. So my boy has been trying to get me to read that book for a hot minute though.
It's a great book. You should definitely read it. So, and I think you would get a lot out of it too. And I'm not trying to be condescending when I say that. I think everyone in the world will get a lot out of that book. So a little bit of a free plug.
What's the premise of it?
The premise of it is that self-help does not help. And that, everything you're being taught is somewhat counterintuitive to the reality of the situation. I said, the subtle art of getting a fuck, because I wanted to introduce like the author of that book. So he said that to be successful in life, you need 3 things. You need to run counter to the narrative. So you need to have a contrarian point of view. Number 2, you need to be right. And then number 3, you need to do it every day. Like you need to put some skin in the game. You need to put your money where your mouth is. So an example would be Bitcoin, right?
I'm a huge investor.
Okay, amazing. I'm not. So I always fancy myself as someone who's very smart with money, but when crypto came around and people were going crazy over it, I was just like, this is a fad. And I was wrong. And I literally sat across the table at Christmas from the founder of Ethereum, who was my cousin's my girlfriend's cousin at the time, Vitalik. Vitalik. Yeah. And I heard from the horse's mouth why this was worth investing in 2016. And I was just like, no. So I feel kind of dumb. But what I want to say is I was wrong, right? I was trying to be contrarian and I was wrong. So it was useless. Now let's just say you on the other hand, if you had met Vitalik at that time, you would have probably parked out your house for that, and you would have been right. So it would be a contrarian point of view, but it's only right because you're right, and then you did something about it. But let's just say you met Vitalik and he told you about Ethereum, he told you about blockchain, he told you about crypto, and it was great and everything, and you were like, this is the greatest, and you started walking around telling everyone how great crypto is, but you never invested. You have no skin in the game, so it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is a guy like Danny Ainge or a guy like Masai Ujiri, these guys, they're successful because they are counterintuitive in a lot of senses. They see value where other people do not see value, and they are very right because they're more enlightened in their approach to value assessment than the average general manager. When the average general manager gets better, being contrarian becomes almost impossible because everyone's picked up. So everyone's in agreement, right? So with Giannis Antetokounmpo is a great example, right? So it's like Masai knew Giannis was going to be good. Other people did not think he was going to be that good, but he didn't put any skin in the game. He didn't offer up DeMar like he should have. He didn't offer up multiple first round picks like he should have. He tried to offer a future first and something else, and it wasn't enough. So it's like, my point is, in that case, if the whole world knew that Giannis was going to be that good, he would have gone first overall. So there would be nothing counter to pick up. What I'm saying is that more and more unlikely to find guys like Giannis and Jokic slip in the draft. I'm telling you, it's going to become more and more unlikely because scouts are getting better. The numbers are getting better. The scouts are getting better. The world is getting smaller when it comes to untapped markets in Africa and Asia, whatever. And suddenly, I'm telling you, if that Giannis draft happened today, I guarantee you he goes top 5. You know? So it's like, what are you expecting to get at 27?
Well, I'm expecting to get a guy like Sam Merrill. I'm expecting to get a guy like Craig Porter Jr. And when I look at our roster, I'm like, we don't even have guys like that. It's really sad. Like, I want a Trey Murphy. I want a Herb Jones. And I actually see the point you're making. I really do. And I have to acknowledge where I've been wrong as well. I was completely wrong with OG. And I think I had a hilarious trade grade on your live. And I was mystified by how he can't put the ball on the floor. And even though I always commented how, this dude has unreal defense, even that was understating his defense. Because I'm looking at it now, this dude held up the damn fort for us on a level that I'm like, okay, I was wrong. Okay, so the point you're trying to make where, you gotta be a contrarian and you gotta really be gung ho and you gotta be in, day out. I see the point you're trying to make. I just think that with the pick point I'm trying to make, it's just, man, we have guys who are valued less than a second. Like, who is valued more than a second on this roster?
A lot of guys. It depends on the second, first of all. But I mean, like, Gary's worth more than a second, I think. Yeah, I mean, there are quite a few. Like, come on, let's be real.
To me, I like Jordan Noir. Like, I think you have these feelings about Jordan Noir where you're hot and cold on him, but you're more like, you have like the same sentiment I have on him. Like, I'm like, I like him a little more than I don't like him, but it's comparative to the roster, and like knowing that for Jordan Noir tells me we are in no way, shape, or form to be giving up a first round pick. We have to understand we are asset.
We didn't give up a first round pick for Wara.
No, I'm saying the first round pick for
but here's what I'm saying though. If you walk into the 2024 draft and let's just say somehow you manage to keep, here's what I'm saying. Let's just say you manage to keep your 2024 pick from the Spurs, right?
Okay.
Now everybody in the world knows that you have pick 6 or pick 5 or 4, whatever. You got pick 5 or 4, 6. You got pick 15, 17. You got 28, and you got 32. Now, let's just say you're not interested in drafting a foreign guy because you don't see one available, and you're not interested in bringing in 4 players on rookie contracts into a team that already has a 20-year-old Grady Dick, a 22-year-old Scotty Barnes, a 23-year-old RJ Barrett. You're trying to compete next year. You're trying to be good, and you don't see this much room on your roster. So even if you could technically offer that second round pick, you can offer him a 2-way contract to free up a spot. You now have 3 of your 15 very valuable guaranteed roster spots being devoted to players who most likely cannot start for you next year and probably won't be rotation players for you next year, unless, of course, you want to have the wrath of Scotty come down on you because you're not going to be competitive because you're developing. You got to understand at some point,
Is that what you
everyone
fear?
is going to figure you out. Everyone's going to figure it out. And at the draft, you're going to be left dangling a 28th overall pick because you can't use that player. You can't. You would deal it from a position of weakness at that point. I guarantee it. Because at that point, everyone will read the room. They'll be like, there's no way they're bringing in they're not bringing 4 rookies into this team. They're just not. You can't.
Okay. I hear that point, but it's like you just said,
Right?
like we're trying to be competitive next year. I don't think we can be irrespective of having rookies, or we sign guys like Dennis Schroeder, Otto Porter. We're not getting
But
anybody.
you have cap space too.
But
You have
who are we
this-
getting? Who are we gonna get though?
Well, my point is you don't even know, like you don't know what you can get until you get there, right? Cap space is a variable that you have to exercise when you have it, and then you have to see what comes back. Now, if Nick Claxton and OG Anunoby don't want to be here when you have the cap space, well, then you can fill up the cap space by absorbing contracts. But that's flexibility that you've offered yourself because you don't have another pick. Now, what I'm saying is, yeah, the cap hold or, the cap hit for a 28th overall pick is not substantial or huge, but it's certainly much better to have that 32nd pick than it is to have the 28th pick if we're splitting hairs over, 4 spots in the draft. And of course, every person out there is going to find some example of some guy who went at 30, and if the pick,
For
the
sure,
team
yeah,
that,
okay,
and it's like,
yeah.
oh my God, I wish we had 32 because, I wish we didn't have to, and again, that happens, but you got to play the odds on this. The odds are, one, it's impossible that the Raptors are going to have 4 rookies next year. I'll guarantee it. There's no way.
I'm not. I'm like, I agree with you. It's like I'm talking from the perspective of how I would run the team, and I'm not perfect, but I'm saying Rob, I've had so many call outs that end up people favoring my side 10 months later. And you've said the same thing. It's like, hey man, sometimes I say something and, I have to wait 18 months for people to, really tell me I was correct. December of 2022 was when I felt like we should have tanked. Yes, I'm beating a dead horse. I felt like Fred VanVleet hoodwinked us. And I'm like, and you saw that too in your lives. I saw that you were analyzing that as well. Masai let that one slide, okay? Then he
I led the brigade on it.
I know. I was your lieutenant in charge, bro. But then after that, you let Fred VanVleet go for nothing. Okay, cool. If I'm evaluating what you could have gotten for OG and what you ended up trading for OG, I'm like, oh my God, that's just you. If you were a hedge fund manager, you shorted the stock, you stayed way too long in it, you messed up. Similar thing with Siakam, okay? I wasn't even someone who was campaigning for Siakam to be traded.
How good do you think Siakam is for real? You think he's better than 3? You think he's better than 3 first-round picks, Jordan Noir and Bruce Brown? You think he's better than that on an expiring contract?
No, that's the best you could have gone for. But you should have traded. I was wrong, is what I'm saying. You should have traded him earlier. You really should have traded him earlier. You waited too long. OG. You got nothing for Fred VanVleet.
Okay.
And now I'm saying you're asset poor. Why are you trading a first? That's my thesis on it.
Okay, so let me try to push back on your thesis a little bit here. Siakam's value was down because the Raptors' value was down. And
Absolutely.
There's not really any way to have been able to completely project that coming in. There's no way to project that he was going to struggle as much as he did in this system. I don't know if you watched their game the other day where they lost down the stretch to a team they absolutely had no business losing to, and I'm forgetting who the hell they were playing now.
That's how bad it is. You can't even remember these games.
Bro, I'm watching like 5 games a day. So
I know.
Yeah, like it's hard. But God, who did they play? Someone in the chat help me out. Tyrese Halliburton down the stretch, they lose the game, and they should have never lost it.
Oh,
shoot!
Pacers, so I thought you were the Raptors. Sorry.
No. It was the Pacers. It was the Pacers against who was it? And they lost, and the other team was mad injured. Cavs? Yes, sir. Yes. There we go. Thank you. Yes, it was against the Cavs. Okay, we're talking the like the Cavs without Donovan Mitchell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember
the Cavs without Evan Mobley. Like they got cooked by the Cavs with basically Darius Garland and Jared Allen and I think Marcus Morris going off for 5 threes. Here's my point. In that game, I swear to God, and people, all people are talking about how bad Halliburton was, and and granted, he's terrible right now. Like he is so bad.
Well, he has a bad
But
hamstring, man. I don't think he can, you know.
sure enough, but he has been abysmal, regardless of what reason
Yeah.
he's been abysmal. He's been bad. But man, there was this play down the stretch where I'm looking at him and Siakam just runs up, sets a ghost screen, and then just kind of moves away. And it looked like Siakam is still confused about the offense over there. And I was just like, the number of times that I saw this guy mess up the play down the stretch just like that and fuck over a teammate just like that here, I'm just like, other teams saw it too. There's no chance in hell you're going to make a case that Siakam's had all-star level impact on the Pacers right now. How many
No, I would
players?
never say that. I would never say
Okay,
that.
so that's my point. He's not having all-star level impact, and he's getting paid like an all-NBA guy. And on top of that, you got 3 first-round picks for an expiring contract. And I mean, again, a lot of
No.
things are sometimes planned. I call it like, here's the thing. Like, here's my question to you. Do you want to be miserable tonight, or do you want to be somewhat relieved? Like, if you relegated to your misery, if you're committed to your misery, if you're like, hey, no matter what Rob tells me, at midnight, I'm going to sleep, I'm going to be sad, I'm going to be upset, I'm going to be angry. Well, then there's nothing I'm going to say to you that's going to make you feel any better. But if perchance you want to be a little less frustrated when you go to sleep, just think about this. Okay, number one, there are things that you can plan for, and there are things you cannot plan for. Len Bias dying of a cocaine overdose. The Celtics are not stupid for drafting him. You draft him 100 times out of 100, and hopefully you pray for better results.
For sure.
Pascal Siakam shooting 17% from 3 for 2 months sustained, and just having so much trouble adapting to Darko's offense, an offense which in theory should have unlocked him for the most efficient season of his life, and did by the end. He was shooting 59% true shooting, and he was going crazy. And now he's, all the development reps have helped with Indiana, where he's shooting like 42% from 3. But my point is that if he plays better, the Raptors are better. The Raptors are in a position to, trade him from a position of advantage. Again, it's a series of dominoes. Scotty Barnes are injuring his hand. Like, this is not a projectable thing. Bruce Brown literally falling off and just becoming dog shit. Like, it's so bad. Not something I could have projected necessarily when he got traded. And I don't think most people would have expected him to be this bad. And again, and I'm not saying like every negative outcome is, oh my God, it's an act of God. And then every positive outcome is like, oh, you planned it. Because certainly, RJ Barrett being a little bit better than he was in New York might be, the odds balancing themselves out. Okay, this guy was a little bit worse. This guy was a little bit better. But overall, I commend the Raptors for picking a direction this year, getting picks, and having this sort of commitment to building an offense that they want to build. I think right now it's very easy to overreact to a 30+ point blowout against the Sacramento Kings and just be like, oh my God, the sky's falling or whatever. But it's like, bro, like, I would have bet my house that they were going to lose this game.
I would have bet the farm. Listen, the point I'm trying to make here is Masai seems to be trading at the nadir more often than not. And there's been Jake Fisher reports that it's like pulling teeth with this dude. And then I'm going back to the draft where Bobby Webster is shaking his hand, celebrating the fact that Woj doesn't know the pick that they're going to make. It just seems that this management, as I've commented multiple times under your videos, it just seems that the management group has somewhat lost touch with, timing.
Okay, is it possible that everyone else got better? Is that possible?
Well, it's like there's guys like me and you who are saying, maybe we should tank, maybe we should sell this guy earlier than they should. And then they end up doing, and the point is they're doing it at the nadir. It's so much so at the nadir that Fred VanVleet's walking for nothing. It's like, eventually I want you to extract value, whether it be, and just start building momentum that way and like snowball some assets going forward. I feel as if how we played our cards, and you're saying I'm trying to be competitive for next year. I'm like, brother, I'm so sorry to let you know we're in this. I was telling you at the beginning of the year, Charlotte Hornets have a brighter future than us.
That's not true.
That's what I firmly.
You cannot possibly believe that.
I firmly, with LaMelo, with Brandon Miller, I think Miles Bridges is underrated. I really like Mark Williams. I can't even, like, other than Scotty, I can't really say anybody with confidence I like on this team.
Okay.
I like Quickly. I enjoy Quickly. I think I don't like RJ, but like I don't want to denigrate RJ. I've been against Grady. I've come around on Grady. I don't think and why I wanted a guy like Keontae over Grady was for a night like this to showcase we have no ball handling at all behind Scotty. There's like nobody after Scotty, it seems like. And you said that yourself. You're saying Grady's not really a guard. This guy's not really a guard. You said Jalen Williams, that's a guard. And I'm like, yes, I want a guy like Jalen Williams. I want you to take a bunch of darts, throw it at the dartboard. One's going to land because that's how devoid of talent we are at this point.
I don't think.
Because you think we're going to be competitive. Like, you don't think we're going to be competitive. You're saying we're trying to be competitive next year. I'm like, there's no avenue for that. Like, we're in the same spot next year. I wouldn't be shocked if Charlotte is, considerably in the play-in. I'm not going to say they're a playoff team by any measure. And we're just in the same spot.
What does considerably in the play-in mean?
Yeah, it's fluctuating between 8 and 9, sometimes jumping to 7.
So they're just in the play-in.
And that is much better than where we are. Like, bro, like, we were pushing for the play-in last year. We get bounced by Chicago. Okay.
How good's your memory?
Pretty solid.
Pretty solid. Okay, write this down. This time next year. So where this time? This is this time next year, right?
Let me open up Google Docs. Okay.
Yeah, put this shit in your calendar, okay? So it's 3:20 right now. I wish this was happening on 4:20 because we have much more memorable date. But okay, 3:20. I'm gonna tell you right now, on 3/20/25, okay, I will bet you a friendly pizza bet that the Raptors will be ahead of the Charlotte Hornets. How much you want to bet?
Well,
you want to bet a pizza on that?
Let's bet 100. Okay, each.
I'm not betting you 100. I'm not betting you $100. I'll bet. I lost $50. I lost $50 on the door, bro. I gotta be careful.
We'll do pizza and wings. Okay.
Why are you adding shit to the bet? You that confident in Charlotte Hornets?
I owe you a little because we had a bet. I don't know. You probably don't remember. It was at the beginning of the year. I said Hornets are gonna finish better than us. And we're gonna end up finishing better than the Hornets. I think that premise.
Are you saying we already made this bet before?
We already made this bet, yes.
Okay, double or nothing.
Okay,
how's that?
I'm so down, but I just can't. I'm fasting. It's Ramadan. I can't really lie. So you did make this bet with me. I said Charlotte Hornets are gonna finish better than us, but if LaMelo was healthy all year, if Mark Williams doesn't go out, I don't know, man. Like I think they can climb 6 wins, 7 wins, and be ahead of us. It's just
the logical fallacy here is crazy. You understand?
You
right?
really think the Hornets are worse off than us going forward in the future, 5 to 10 years, 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, bro. I think the Raptors have a really bright future.
I like Micic more than anybody on this roster. Like
what?
Yes.
More than Grady?
Bro, I would rather have Villasein any day of the week over Grady. How old do you think he is? Yeah. Well, he's 30 years old, but not who they're gonna be. I'm just talking for the right now, foreseeable future. I've come around on Grady. I don't think he's as bad as I've spoken to, but it's that's what I mean by ball handling talent. We have none of it.
Craziest thing is you're not trolling, and you're not even trolling. This is how you actually think.
Bro, and we're gonna be here next year. I'm gonna pull up back here next year, March. I'm gonna be like, broski, where are we at?
And you know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna forget that we made this bet, and you're gonna tell me how great LaMelo Ball is gonna be in 2026, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna bet you this much, and then you're gonna be like, yo, that 2 years in a row we made this bet, right?
Yeah, don't worry,
man.
Or nothing.
Like it's just gonna be a long stand, and one day they'll make a documentary about the guy who made the same bet 50 years in a row on the Hornets and lost. Okay, and you'll be the subject of that documentary.
Okay, I gotta head out. I gotta pray, but I really just wanna ask you before I go. No bullshit from your heart of hearts. Do you genuinely believe the Hornets have a murkier future than the Raptors?
Yes.
Really? Wow.
I did not even let you finish that sentence before I said yes. Are you kidding me?
Really?
Scotty Barnes and Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett,
Miller, LaMelo, and Mark Williams as a package. Not Scotty.
Okay, I'll tell you right now, I would not trade Scotty Barnes for LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, and Mark Williams. combined. I wouldn't trade that one guy for those
I
three
agree
guys.
with that. I actually agree with that, but I like the
What are we
Hornets more.
talking about?
But I like the Hornets more.
Okay, hold on. How bad do you think Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett are that they are adding negative value to your package? Now, if I'm telling you that Scotty is better than those three guys combined in terms of it as an asset, now I mean that might be very controversial, and we don't know where Brandon Miller's career is going to go, and he could be a lot better. And certainly, I would not be surprised if he is a really good player. Today on the show that I was on, I was actually asked to rank LaMelo 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, and I ranked him 3-star.
5-star being the highest, or 1-star being the highest?
5-star was you could be the best player on the championship team.
Okay.
4-star was you could be one of the top 2 to 3 guys on a championship team. 3-star was you'd be a key starter on the championship team, like not a scrub starter, like not a ceremonial starter, but like a real starter on a championship team, like Aaron Gordon level impact. And a 2-star was you could be a rotation player on a championship team. 1-star was you could be a fringe rotation on a championship team, and then you get no stars if you would never play on a championship team. And so we were just ranking out all the guards. Yo, the disrespect to Emmanuel Quickly. Someone put Emmanuel Quickly in a 1-star. I was like, what? You fucking asshole.
I think he's a 2-star.
He's a solid 3-star, and you're capping.
But you think LaMelo and you know what?
They're in the same.
You're entitled to this.
They're in the same range. Even if I will acknowledge that LaMelo Ball is a better player than Emmanuel Quickly, 100%. The range is big. I'm saying a key starter. Are you telling me right now that Emmanuel Quickly cannot start on a championship team? You telling me he can't?
No, he can. No, he can. Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
So that's what makes him a 3-star.
He's a 2.5. Like he's not like solid. Like it's touch and go a little bit there with me,
bro. Like I mean, he's a better defender than LaMelo Ball. He's a much better shooter than LaMelo Ball. I don't want to say much better, but he's a better shooter than LaMelo Ball, right? LaMelo is a better passer and a much better creator and a better ball handler, and he's a taller, better finisher, etc. All that stuff. And granted, he's a better, but IQ, like, bro, like, I mean, the guy was putting up 20, 11, and 7 for a week, week and a half to 2 weeks with all the defensive attention in the world coming at him. That doesn't mean shit.
No,
he's shooting 46% from 3 as a Raptor. That doesn't mean anything.
I'm a little conservative. That's all it is. Like, I'm not gonna.
You're not conservative. You just bet. You just bet pizza and wings on the Hornets for the second straight year being better than the Raptors. That's not conservative. That's like some wild take shit.
No. Like,
conservative is the OKC Thunder are going to be good next year. That's conservative. The conservative is, the Raptors will be better than they are next year. No. You went out on a limb, my friend.
Okay, let's say everybody's healthy next year. Where can you forecast us?
Push for 40 wins.
But where does that net you, like in the grand scheme in the East?
It gets you ahead of the Charlotte Hornets, and that's all I care about as it comes to our bet.
But nah, chill. Like I want prosperity for my team. I want. Year over year, I want to project something positive. And I just think the ingredients we have, it's not really cooking. It's not really, nothing's really happening. I think there has to be a move to be made. I don't know what that move is. I think the hole is so deep now. I don't know what you do. I see your point when you're saying, hey, if you stuff the roster with rookies, what do you expect? But I think you might find a diamond in the rough. I think you should gamble a little bit. I'm really worried I think we could literally be Detroit Pistons for a few years going forward. It's getting like, yo, let me read you some of these names, bro. Bruce Brown, Akbaji, Jalen McDaniels, Guy, Nora, Porter. I don't even know who Ramsey is.
That's the point.
I don't like, but it's like it's getting to that point, and it's like I think. Do you think we have the worst roster in the league in terms of trade value?
With Scotty?
No, minus Scotty. Everything minus Scotty.
So I just gotta focus on the guys who played tonight. Then yes, we're the worst team in the league. The team that played tonight. Hold on though. If you take the 5 best players off of any team, most teams are going to be the worst team in the league, bro. Five players, unless you're talking Boston Celtics.
Who's our 5 best players though that we're not playing?
I mean, we definitely didn't play 4 of them. That's for sure. Okay. So
Okay, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, for sure. There's Barrett, Jakob, Scotty. There's something there.
quickly. That's four.
Quickly.
That's
That's
four.
four.
That's
But
that's
okay.
by far your four best players.
But then again, it's like I see
between number 4 and number 5 is pretty substantial for me. So it's like almost like you have 4 starters and you're just missing one. So it's like you didn't have any starters tonight.
Would you be interested in Josh Giddey for the squad?
No.
Not at all.
Fuck that guy. What the fuck? No. Why?
Not like for what? No, I could.
No, I don't give a shit about that. I'm talking about him as a basketball player. Why?
Me too.
Why? What does he do?
A creator. Someone who can put the ball on the floor a little bit and create. With Scotty's not there. I know he has similar weaknesses to Scotty in terms of shooting.
Whoa. No, he doesn't. He is a considerably worse shooter than Scotty. He is like a 29% 3-point shooter. Are we kidding here?
Scotty's catch and shoot percentage is going to stick next year?
Bro, I know Brian and I know Scott and I know Scotty, and they're gonna work really, really hard on that shot. And trust me, like his shot falling off a little bit, shot falling off a little bit had a lot to do with tired legs. It had a lot to do with tendonitis. It had a lot to do with a lot of stuff. Okay, so he is much closer. Okay, well, 36-35 is probably a bar that Josh Giddey is never going to touch in his life. Okay, you're talking about quite literally like a guy who teams are giving 15 feet of space for. Who is he creating for? Who's he creating for right now? Josh Giddey. Who's he creating for? He is literally like, do you study the numbers? Yeah, like have you seen the numbers of OKC Thunder when he's not on the court? They are a considerably better team with him off the court.
I know, but like
Matthew DeSantis is saying Giddey shoots 30% on wide open threes. Just think about that.
We need to reconvene next March then. Josh.
You know who else shoots 30% on wide open threes?
Oh.
Me. With no practice for a year, I would pretty much bet my life that I could shoot 30% on open threes in the NBA. I used to be able to shoot about 60%. So like wide open, not in game, but like just standing at a line and just shooting 24 footers. Yes, sir.
RJ had a year at 40% and it came down. You know, like there's balloon years, there's down years. I think it's always somewhere in the middle.
Okay, know? Josh Giddey has been a bad shooter his whole life.
What is Josh Giddey last year on honest news?
I love how furiously you're typing only to be proven wrong again.
Let me see.
Because you're going to be like, it's 31%, Rob.
I mean, it's 32.3. You feel me on 3 attempts. It's low frequency, pretty low percentage. I see the point. I don't think Scotty's too far ahead of John. Like when I see the form, but you're telling me you have insider trading information on Brian and Scotty, I'll take your word for it. Okay. It comes down to creation. It comes down to guys who can put the ball on the floor a little bit, guys who can create for other people a little bit. I think that's what we're really lacking. And when you pair Akbaji and Dick together, it's just like, okay, now and we're stacking so many weaknesses on top of Gary Trent, Grady Dick, Akbaji. They have similar weaknesses in creation.
Let me ask you a question. You would trade Grady Dick for Josh Giddey, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would. Or 100%.
Okay. I wouldn't. So that's probably the difference here. I wouldn't. Not even close. And I think like shooting is so relevant, and I think he's gonna be. I think Grady will end up being a slightly better defender than Giddey as well. He's gonna be a better shooter. And yeah, man, he'll never be the playmaker, ball handler, or whatever. But man, I trust Grady. I don't know what it is about that guy, but I really trust him to be much better. And if you put Scotty on OKC right now,
dangerous, man.
It would be curtains for the NBA. Regardless
why I'm so hot is picture Wembanyama. This is why I really wanted to tank, to be honest with you. Even if it was a 12% chance, I would have gone. Picture Scotty and Wemby. That's lock up some chances.
You're preaching to the choir. I bitched about it all last year that they weren't doing that, and then I kept talking about how great Wemby and Scotty would be, and I even so I get it. I get all of it. There's a lot of guys at the top of the draft that would have been really good with Scotty.
Scotty's the perfect height to get Wemby the ball. Like some of these Spurs guys can't get the ball because they can't see over the top.
Yeah, everything they're trying to do with Sohan and Wemby, you're like, man, Scotty is like 100%, like 1,000% better version of Jeremy Sohan. So everything you're trying to do right now with Jeremy Sohan as a big playmaker, ball handler, defender, etc., would have actually been possible with Scotty. Plus, those two would have vibed like crazy. They would have been like the best of friends, like right
And
away. Like they
I
have
honestly,
such matching personalities. So
they could
yeah.
literally be in a dangerous playoff team today if those two were together.
Oh, bro, like basically that would be Magic and Kareem part 2. Like
100%.
that's what I was so mad about.
And
Is
Fred
like
VanVleet took that from us. Fred VanVleet took that from us.
No, Fred VanVleet did not take that from us. Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster took that from us by not
absolutely.
By allowing Fred VanVleet to sort of manipulate them into thinking that he wanted to play ball, and he didn't want to play ball. He wanted to use it as leverage. And personally, like I've come a long way on Fred. Bygones be bygones. I understand. Take care of your family, all that stuff. But as a general manager, as a president, you must learn to see the motivations and intentions of the people who are, on your team. You need to see it. You need to see that, and I think they've been kind of blind to it, to be honest. They've been really blind.
Okay, how long do you think? This tenure will last with Bobby and Masai? And I'm not saying for you to be negative. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying yes or no. Like, if you think it's going to be a long while, or if you think the sun is setting.
The sun is definitely setting.
My guy, thank you very much.
No. I'm not calling for it to set.
No, I know.
I'm saying it's setting because historical precedent would be that guys do not stick around and manage a team for 20 years. So Masai's been here for over 10 years. Right, so you could easily see him moving on within 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah, that's true. But I also feel like it's been a diabolical 18 months. Is that a stretch for me to say?
It's been a comedy of errors. It's been a lot. It's been a lot of it's been a lot of mistakes, piled on a lot of mistakes. But far be it for me to kick somebody after they've finally done what I wanted them to do, and what I wanted them to do is parse out the roster. To hire a coach who would preach ball movement and an egalitarian motion offense, which they're doing. And I'm not an idiot. I'm not impatient. I understand that what they're trying to do takes time. Imagine this, right? Like, and this is no disrespect, but this is going to sound a little rude, but I just want to say it. Imagine you have a neighbor, right? And let's just say it's a really noisy, disgusting, dilapidated building, right? And it's like you hate this building. And so you write letter after letter after letter after letter to the city to have this building removed. You write letters for 20 years to have this building removed, right? And then one day you see the construction crew and they're knocking it down. And after 2 months of watching the construction crew knock this building into oblivion and seeing all the debris and dealing with all the noise, you start writing letters to the city about how they have too much construction in the city. This is what you sound like right now to me.
Yeah, no, and you know what?
Because really, what you got right now is what you exactly.
But I had to get my shit off. I had to get my shit off.
But that's the thing, though. It's like, but logically speaking, you wanted something to happen. It didn't happen. Now it's happening a little bit later. So, do you understand what I mean? Like, you're miserable in the moment that it's not happening, and now you're miserable also when it is happening. And so the question is, at what point do you want to choose?
Gratitude is definitely an emphasis of 2024 that I'm working on.
Okay, so I'll leave you off with an inspiring note. So today, I kind of fucked myself over on the doors thing, right? I mean, think about it. I spent an hour, waiting, finding a guy to get me doors, getting very hype about the fact that I was finally going to fix these stupid ass doors, and then basically spending 35 to 40%, 35% of the budget basically to get no doors. You know what I mean? I mean, $50 is not a huge amount of money.
Bullshit. It's annoying.
It's just annoying how it happened, because now I got to start the whole process again. And I thought I had the doors, but then they didn't fit, and I had to waste the morning dragging it down. So I was like, okay. As I was coming up, I felt a little bit like, ugh, motherfucker. Like, I didn't know. I didn't blame him. I was actually very relieved that he came back, because he could have straight up told me to go to hell. You should have measured. It's your fault. He could have done that. He didn't do that. So nice guy. Shout outs to that guy. He didn't do that. But I just want to say that in that moment when I was coming up, there was a part of me that kicked in, which was like shame-based thinking of like, what kind of an idiot doesn't measure the doorknob height, right? You should have measured that. And then there was a part of me that just was like, nah, lean into gratitude. Gratitude, number one. I learned something about doors that I didn't know before. That's probably going to come in handy at some point in life. So I learned something. People pay to learn stuff. I paid to learn something today. What I paid to learn is measure everything twice. Okay, good lesson to learn. Not a lesson I've had to learn many times in my life because usually I get lucky, but this time I did not get lucky, and boom. Lesson number 2, if he had messaged me and said, hey, you bought the doors for $50, I delivered it, the deal is done. If you want me to come back, I'll take the doors for $5 a piece. What do you want to say? Take it or leave it? I would have said take it. So he gave me $100 more than I was willing to settle for. That's a win. It's a win in my book. So I won the morning. Even though by most outside perspectives, I lost the morning, I'm going to choose to think I won the morning because I'm not committed to being miserable. See what I mean?
Okay. I'm not committed to. Okay, listen. I come in with. I definitely have my grumpy pants on a lot, but you have to understand. I don't pop into lives a lot, and I just had to get my shit off one time because
I get it, but it's like after a game like this, and it's emotional, right? It can be emotional watching your team get whooped like this. But I'm saying, like, how is it effective?
Because I really hope, because I just don't want to hop in the draft. It's not like my voice doesn't matter. It's not like they're listening to this, but I want it to be known. I don't want to get in that draft and then not draft ball handlers. Like I don't want to go down this Grady Dick path again. It's not that I'm going at Grady Dick. I'm just.
You remember that thing that I said earlier about you got to be contrarian and you got to be right?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think is the most prized possession or the most prized asset or skill set that would help you excel in college basketball right now? Do you think it is lateral quickness? Do you think it's shooting, or do you think it's ball handling? Because I'll tell you right now,
a mixture of shooting and ball handling.
Right. So does it not make sense that if you are consistently drafting players who lack those two things, that you are actually taking the wildest swings in the draft? When you swing on a Precious Achiuwa, you are swinging on a guy that you're hoping can develop those other things, right? What I'm trying to say is that there is a deeper level to scouting and analysis and drafting that a lot of people don't see, because it's like a guy like Victor Wembanyama, it's like, yeah, he's a perfect fucking 19-year-old basketball player. His game, okay, yeah, his pull-up could be a little bit better. He could be a little bit stronger, blah, 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 blah. But for a 19-year-old player, he's about as perfect as a perfect gets at that size, okay? And it's just like at that point, he's fairly priced. But if Victor Wembanyama had a slew of injuries behind him, well, he's not perfect anymore. And if Victor Wembanyama was 6'6", he's not perfect anymore. And if Victor Wembanyama couldn't shoot at all, he wouldn't be perfect anymore. And maybe he's not the first overall pick. If he can't shoot at all, like if he literally cannot shoot outside of 2 feet, maybe he's not the first overall pick. So you have to now understand that he is undervalued relative to you believing that he can develop a jump shot. My point is, you can't expect to find great, error-free, blemishless prospects at the 20th pick. They don't come along. And for all you want to talk about Keontae George, is this and that. He has deficiencies that he will never ever make up for.
It's about apparent skill set. And there's this idea of swings and drafting for need. The Mavs took Derek Lively for need's sake. And I'm thinking, okay, Raptors, I think you need to think along those lines a little bit.
No. And first of all, you think the Dallas Mavericks took Derek Lively for need. He was the best player on the court, on the board by far.
Well, they needed a center though too.
It's irrelevant. They needed someone.
How's that irrelevant though?
Bro, there's only one way that it would ever be relevant to pick for need, and that would be if you're picking probably like late first round, early second, and you're a contender. If you're not a contender and you're not picking in the late first round, you never pick for need. Ever.
But when you have four, okay, but like eventually you're going to run into somebody who you think is a swing and a ball handler at the same time when you have that many picks. So when I reference that dart analogy, just throwing the dart at the board, and then you're saying, yes, we have that many rookies on the team, I understand that. But then I'm saying we're not going to be competitive irrespective of that. I just think there's a way that we can go about it where everybody can kind of win. And I'm not even going to continue beating the drum of, oh my God. I'm just saying, I'm watching this draft, and I just hope that You know, guys like Topic, guys like Rob Dillingham, guys like Reed Shepard. Even though like those are very high picks, we might have them in that range. I hope we're considering guys like that.
Right, but what if we're not?
It blows my mind. It blows my mind. If after a game like this, after you see, okay, Scotty's injured. Yes, there's no quickly. I understand what you're saying. And then you're gonna like if you draft like you know what? I like some guys. Like in the early portion, I don't think there's gonna be a guy we pick at 6 that I'm not gonna like. I like Cody Williams. I like Richard. I like Alex Sarr. I like Rob Dillingham. I like a lot of these guys at the early portion.
I want you to come back to this video next year and just remember this day. Remember this video. Remember everything you said in this live, and just really remember how much you just talked about those guys. And tell me a year from now, after watching them in the NBA, if you still like Alex Sarr, if you still like Rob Dillingham, if you still
there's
like
guys I like. I like. I'm gonna in your comments. I'm gonna put my top 10. Okay, because some of those guys I'm not. It's not like I love them, but some guys I love. Okay, Tyler Smith I love. Okay,
so how much of them have you watched?
Tyler Smith, I've watched a lot of his G League games. I love his pull up. I love how confident he is when he shoots. It's like something I see in his confidence. Okay, I don't like Ron Holland that much. He's touted higher. So like it doesn't. I'm not always just what do you call it? Looking at the guys at the top and wanting them all. I have certain guys I think we need. I think Tyler Smith fits that bill, and I think a guy like Reed Shepard fits that bill. And they're opposites in my opinion in terms of what they bring to the table. So I think they're not going to draft guys like that.
I mean, dude, you're acting like they're against ball handling. They're not. They're not.
After you go, but like it's.
Dude, they prioritize size to skill ratio a lot. I can see that, which is important because you can't teach size. You can never teach size. If Grady was 6'4", I guarantee you they don't draft him. I'll bet my life on it. They would not have drafted him if he was 6'4". But his potential and archetype as a big playmaker, and you know, you might be sleeping on his handle a little bit too. I know it's not shifty and dynamic and it's not saucy, but he is a competent ball handler.
He can put it on the floor more than you think he can, 100%. I've been watching the past few games.
And that's what I'm saying. It's only going to get better. And he is like a really hard worker. And that jump shot, I'm telling you right now, most prospects are never going to shoot like him.
There's a reason why I started going quiet. Even though he's not playing well, there's a reason I started going quiet on my Grady Dick takes. I saw him play. I got comfortable with him. I'm like, oh, I'm starting to see what people are seeing. So, and I know we're both in the kind of the minority of that. It's not like I don't think a lot of people are saying, oh, Grady Dick. I think I was someone who was screaming for Cam Whitmore, and I was really angry when Cam Whitmore was having success and Grady was
he's been really good. He's been better than I expected him to be. I still find him to be somewhat, limited. But he's blown me away. Like Cam and Brandon Miller were two guys that I did not have a lot of nice things to say about at the draft, and I'm wrong. I'm straight up wrong. Today on the Players Choice podcast where I was on the panel, and we just randomly busting into this, and we're talking about admitting when you're wrong. And I said that we live in a world in which people really don't like to admit when they're wrong, and it's difficult to grow if you can never admit when you're wrong. You just keep doubling, tripling down because you have this idea in your head that if I admit I'm wrong, I'll look weak. And I think that's actually the opposite.
And one thing I'm gonna head out right now. Yep. One thing I will say to that is I think that comes from people who haven't been watching the league for a while when they're so.
No, there are a lot of people who've been watching the league for years that will never, ever, ever admit that LeBron is not a choker. You know what I mean?
You think? Okay, well, that's a different day. That's a topic for a different day. I'll leave my top 10. It was good talking with you. It's been a while. I will leave my top 10 under your videos.
Cool, man. Absolutely. Thanks a lot for calling in. Appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, we are going to get to the post-game live in a minute when this thing downloads. So clearly I'm not very down on the Raptors right now, and I'm very happy about that. I spent a lot of time being down on them last year, and it was partially because I envisioned this year coming up, right? if you really do revise my takes, I'm not making this up. I said, I'm like, how do you know you're going to be good next year? You could end up surrendering a really high pick. This draft is, not very strong, but you could be really bad next year. What if Fred VanVleet leaves? Blah 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 blah. So, yeah, there's a part of me that thinks, hey, this was projectable. Why didn't you do this? But there's also a part of me that's just like, hey, Rob, did you not spend enough time being frustrated by this last year? You got to be frustrated about what happened last year today too. Seems kind of like a pointless use of energy, if you want what I mean, if you know what I mean. So anyways, and Jet asking, hey, Rob, it's been a while. How are you? Do you still think OG is coming back this summer? So yes, I do think that's a possibility. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Jet, who showed up to Penn Dance and gave me this really cool thing. Hold on, I just flash this onto the screen for y'all for a second here. So Jet gave me this cool thing. NBA Champions 2019 at Penn Dance. Very nice. Thank you very much, Jet, for that. All right, let's get to the post game.
Conversation throughout the stretch and recently it's been about development and how to learn through these struggles. For you this season, where do you feel like your game has been developing throughout all this?
Just been put in different positions throughout the year, just trying to make it work, trying to roll with the punches. Again, we got a whole bunch of young players as well that's trying to learn and grow and roll with the punches as well. And, I feel like leadership, how to deal with certain things, I would say really was the contributing factors to, probably this season of what I've learned the most and opportunities and certain things I've been in, but for sure.
What's your advice to a lot of the guys on the roster who, obviously, most of the guys playing tonight don't have an opportunity like this, but what's your advice when they get out there and have an opportunity to showcase?
1,000%. They haven't had the opportunity or the experience, so tell them to go out there and play hard, again, no matter what. At the end of the day, don't lay down. At the end of the day, stay together, try to get his wins, try to score, trying to get as many stops as we can to, be victorious at the end.
Talk about maybe a little bit of frustration you felt during the game today.
I wouldn't really say frustrated, but obviously, we getting beat up on, so that can be tough. But again, just staying solid, staying 10 toes down, don't lay down, stand, talking to guys and continue to keep playing hard. That's all I really can do and was trying to do, and, to the best of my abilities, and we all going to continue to try to do that every game.
Anybody you've been impressed with? Anybody you've been impressed with that normally you don't get a chance to see this much minutes?
Everybody's been doing great, Grady, he shoots the ball super well. Old Child come in, he play defense, he's super athletic. He's been catching a whole bunch of lobs and little catch and shoot threes and stuff like that. Kelly, his ability to be able to pass and his ability to be able to cut and score and have certain post moves and get guys open, been big for us. Bruce, him going downhill, doing what he does, finding guys, being a point guard in a sense, And Javon, he's coming in playing hard. JR, he's coming in trying to play defense, play hard. He's picking up full. We've been on a 10-day, so, he's trying to show and prove and showcase what he can do, And Jonte been coming in. He's been in and out of hurt stuff. And same thing with Jalen. He's been playing decent, just really waiting for opportunity to continue to keep going and playing hard. But, Moji, he tried to come out there and put him in certain situations. He's just learning, trying to figure it out on the fly type of thing. So, everybody been doing something. GT, even. He's not even on the floor, but he's still preaching to us. He's still talking to guys. He's still telling guys what you should be looking at in this situation, how you should be doing this. So, everybody from top to bottom, is contributing, and I'm impressed with it, and, they're trying to contribute and help towards winning.
Darko, what's the mood? Is it becoming frustration, anger, resignation? What's the mood of the group as these bounces?
I mean, it's just desire to do better. Everybody is eager to perform better, to compete better. A lot of players are playing outside of their roles and something they're not accustomed to. And nobody's expecting from this group to be something that they're not. But they really got to be star in their roles. They got to do small things for each other, and that's gonna really help them to perform better and to be competitive in all of those games.
You're obviously playing for the long game with the development of these players. Are you seeing good signs from anybody specifically you like?
There are signs of it, and when you're going through situations like this, it takes time, and it's not happening overnight. And we had a couple of games that we were very competitive against good teams. Tonight, that was not the case. We missed tonight Emmanuel quickly as well, adding to the list. And then during the game, we lost Jonte Porter as well. And we're just like going down the stretch and just we're pretty thin right now. But I thought that tonight we were able to do something specific in pick and rolls with Kelly. To get him in some hedges and shows, which was positive. In the second half, we were able to get a little bit different look for us, and that's something that we want to try to experiment and look what's the best for this group. But there is just desire from the whole group to do better.
What did you think of your team's effort level, especially in the second and third quarter?
Effort is up and down. Like any other team. I don't think that effort that Sacramento had tonight was 48 minutes of effort. That those things are, playing in swings, and definitely there were moments that the effort was not good enough, especially when we were committing turnovers and we were not able to get back on defense. I was really disappointed with that part. We're trying to move the ball, and when mistakes happened, we still got to be able to go back on defense and cover for each other and play hard.
Thanks for watching the Toronto Raptors YouTube channel.
Damn it. I missed it. I've gotten so good at tuning out before Jalen McDaniels gets on, but I missed it on that one. They just throw it right in there, right? They cut the guy off like right there. Kevin Durant fake profile saying Alexander Sarr will save us. Damn. Abdul saying he got you. Yeah, this is an imaginary game that I play with Jalen McDaniels every single night. I did miss, bro. I'm just like the Raptors tonight. I missed. All right. As promised, I'm going to devote the next 9 minutes to the 177 of you who are tuning into this, who are watching these disastrous games. I'm going to devote the next 8 minutes to hopefully share some really good ideas that I had with you. The last, I want to say 2 weeks have been a very big shift for me. And I've been feeling it. I've really been feeling it since Penn Dance ended. I don't know if it's because of Penn Dance or because Penn Dance ended or because of something that happened before it or just the natural maturation process of being a human being who's 36 years old. But I'm feeling a shift in a lot of things. And I knew it right away because I had a whole bunch of nightmares, like I want to say like a week and a half ago. And usually you have nightmares when you're processing stuff. And I was like, man, what am I letting go of? All right. A lot of things. I had a very interesting day a couple of days ago, where I went on like a movie binge watch, just like watching the most random movies that I could. And it was like literally just letting Netflix pick whatever I was going to watch and just watch them. And I thought of some stuff while I was watching some of these really random films because I wasn't picking them. And one of the things I realized was this. When you're not good, when your life is not good, you will find what you need. You will find what you need. But you will not find what you want. When your life is good, when you're resolved, you will find what you want. The trouble with finding what you need when you're looking for what you want is you will almost always be frustrated, right? See what I mean? Let's just say you have some abandonment issues, or you have some jealousy issues, you have trust issues. You're going to find people that you need more than what you want. If you have trust issues, you want to find the most honest person in the world so that your trust issues will not be exacerbated. But what you're most likely going to find is someone who pushes your buttons a lot, because that's what you need to find. You need to find that right now. When your life has been a struggle and you're struggling, you probably want to find a job that's really easy, but what you're going to find is a job that pushes you even further, and it's going to test you. And I think that is a very imperative part of life, to become very comfortable with the things that challenge us. I think that's important. It's very important. So that's the first thing. And you have to trust, of course, that at some point, once you are done to some extent with the things that you need, that you will be worthy of finding what you want. And I think that I have to trust that too. The second thing is, the concept of holding on to anything negative. It's an attachment. You need to let go of that stuff. I've been letting go of a lot of stuff lately, and it's been very freeing. Share one of the most transformative things with you. For many years, I was very, very angry at a lot of people that I felt I could not forgive them for what they had done. And I think that it was making me pretty bitter inside because I held a lot of stuff against them. And naturally, holding stuff against other people, it's going to change your relationship with yourself as well. I have never met somebody ever in my life who's good to themselves and bad to other people. It's just not possible. It's just not possible. So typically when you find someone who is being very nasty and very abusive and very disgusting to other people, very often you should have a little bit of empathy for that person, especially because nothing that is coming out of you is coming out of anything but you. If you have hatred coming out of you, that's because hatred is in you. And if hatred is in you, I'm sorry, I have to feel empathy for you because you are living with what you are spewing. See, I don't know. If let's just say you're a waitress, right? Let's just say you have a really nasty customer who comes in and just berating you and making your life a living hell for that, 5 minutes. If you're like a lot of waiters or wait staff or, people in frontline positions, you might be very frustrated by that moment. You might say, why did this person come in and make my life really hard? But think about it. You had to deal with them for 5 minutes. They've had to deal with themselves for 50 years. That should be a very comforting thought to you, because in that moment you realize you're dealing with 1% of their personality for 5 minutes. They're dealing with 100% of their personality 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, their whole life until they change. That should be a cause for empathy, should it not? I think that was a very important thought for me to realize, that when I'm dealing with people who I deem to be challenging, that ultimately that is what I must see in them, that they are expressing something that is inside of them and it has nothing really to do with me. There's a lot of thoughts that I had, and I'm trying to put them together in a way that makes sense. To this idea of bad and good, this is bad now, this was good then, this is bad now, this is good then. I want you to imagine the worst thing that's ever happened to you, the worst thing that could happen to you, right? Just imagine it. Like, what is it? What is it? Is it getting a brain tumor? Is it your spouse dying? Is it your kid dying? Your parents dying? Whatever the hell it is, imagine that, right? Now, that's probably the worst thing that ever happened, right? Now, imagine the worst thing that happened to you in reality this week, right? Maybe the worst thing that happened to you this week is some asshole cut you off in traffic. Or maybe what happened to you is you locked yourself out of your house and now you're out $180 for a locksmith. Or maybe the worst thing that happened to you is you got fired. Or maybe the worst thing that happened to you is your landlord increased your rent. Or maybe you got evicted. Or maybe someone stole something from you. Or maybe you got robbed. Or maybe something like that happened. Or maybe your stock went down in price. So your parlay bet didn't hit. Whatever is making you miserable, I want you to imagine the moment that you found out. That 5 minutes before you found out about this horrible thing that happened to you this week, that the thing that you think is the worst thing that could ever happen to you happened to you 5 minutes before. Would it even matter? Of course it wouldn't matter. Imagine that, right? Imagine you got some $100 parlay bet, and you're really close to hitting it. It's like 4 legs and you got 3 legs, and last second some dipshit decides to take a contested 3, hoist it up. It's not supposed to go in. It goes in by some fluke, whatever. Just imagine that happened, right? And you lost $100 on that stupid ass shot, right? And you're very pissed and you think about it all night and you're like, God damn it, why did that guy do that? Or maybe if you're one of those ballers, those baller betters, maybe $100 doesn't mean shit to you. Maybe it's $1,000. Maybe it's $500. I don't care. Whatever it is, it's just money. Put it to that side. Now imagine that 3 minutes before that, you got a call from your doctor that said you have a brain tumor and you have a week to live. Now lose your parlay bet and tell me, do you even give a shit about the parlay bet? You probably don't. Now imagine the situation a little bit changed, which is your doctor calls you, says you have a brain tumor, you have a week to live. Then you lose your parlay bet or you lose your house, or you lose $1 million, whatever. But you have a brain tumor and a week to live seems like a pretty consequential thing. Or your parent has died, or something, your kid has died. Some horrible thing has happened. And then you lose this thing that you think is bad. Now, let's just say you're thinking about all this shit that happened to you, and 20 minutes later, you get a call saying, sorry, it's been a mistake. You don't have a tumor. You're not going to die. Happiest day of your life. It's the happiest day of your life, and you lost $1 million, but it's the happiest day of your life because you just found out you don't have the brain tumor that's going to kill you. Perspective is very important. Now, you can learn perspective when you have the brain tumor. You can learn perspective when you have the divorce. You can learn perspective in pain, or you can learn perspective in peace. I suggest you learn it in peace before life gives you pain. Unsolicited life advice from a basketball channel, I know, but I wanted to share this because I think that it's important. I've had a lot of things happen in my life that I considered to be really bad in the moment. It was never as bad as I thought it was. It never lasted for as long as I thought it was going to last, and it usually went away. The other element of it is catastrophizing. What could happen? What's the worst thing that could happen? And then thinking about that and ruminating about that all day. Well, guess what? 99% of the worst things that ever happened to me never actually happened to me. They were just me thinking they were happening to me. That's important too. Two more things. The life is, there's this old adage that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. Often said, seldom understood. It's true. Try to the best of your ability to react with grace in every situation, regardless of how bad or good it is. Try to react with humility and grace to everything, whether it be somebody cutting you off, disagreeing with you, being rude to you, you making a mistake. Just try to deal with it with grace and see what happens. I think grace can do a lot of good things for people. What I mean by this is, you imagine you're going up to accept an Oscar and you fall. You fall on your way up. There's two ways to go about this. Door number one is the way that most people would take, which is they feel like the whole world just watched them fall. They're embarrassed. They spiral. They screw up their speech. They apologize. They're super awkward. And now everybody else feels super awkward. Door number two is you go up there and you laugh and you say, you won't believe this, but I've been walking my whole life. And everyone else laughs with you. Something I learned is that if you laugh, the world will laugh with you. It's true. Learn to laugh at yourself. It's never that serious. And life is never as long as you think it's going to be. When you make a mistake, nobody is watching you as much as you think they are watching you. Another thing. 4 of the most important people that I met this past year, 3 of them are very, very big believers in God. I don't really care what God you believe in. You believe in Islam, Judaism, Jainism, Hinduism, Christianity. I don't really care. I don't have a horse in this race in terms of what God you believe in or what you pray to. All I care is that you understand that the world is bigger than you. That's it. And these people have been so informative and so life-changing for me, just to observe them and to listen to them and be friends with them. And I'm very lucky for that. And then the 4th person that I thought wasn't religious just told me just the other day that she does believe in God as well. And I thought that was really interesting that these 4 people that I found to be so instrumental in my life this year all happen to believe in a higher power. Why? Why is that instrumental? Well, number one, 90% of our misery stems from thinking that we're way more important than we actually are. And 90% of the peace that you're going to find in your life is understanding that you don't matter. I don't matter, you don't matter, and that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. See, most of us, we fight what is reality. The reality is you are a speck of dust in a really vast planet which has existed for billions of years before you and will exist for probably, hopefully, billions of years after you. You are infinitesimally small. So when you fall, it doesn't matter. When you make a mistake, it doesn't matter. When you fuck up, it doesn't matter. If you go broke, it doesn't matter. It matters to you because you think it's the end of the world because your whole life is revolving around you. But try to make a life that does not revolve around you and you will find yourself vastly more successful, in my opinion. I don't know how to dance. Something that I do not really talk about very much. But I got to tell you, ever since I was in grade 6, I did not know how to dance. Just didn't know how to dance. I would be the guy who go up to the girl that I liked and I would try to slow dance. Like I would wait for the slow dance because everyone can slow dance, right? Everyone can, or I will wait till everyone had 2-3 shots and then I'll go grind on a girl. But I would not ever do that stuff that those confident, dudes at the club can just break out to Sean Paul, Get Busy or something like that, where they could lead a girl and do some dance shit. And it wasn't even that I can't move or that I got 2 left legs or anything like that. What it was I had no rhythm. My whole life I had no rhythm, which means that if you constructed a dance routine and I had to, work with a group of 6 people and you choreographed the whole dance routine, I could pull it off, no problem. I can move my arms and my legs in a way that you tell me to do, and I can practice it. But if you put me on a dance floor and say, this is a song, now move your legs and your feet and your arms in rhythm with this song, I'm lost. I'm dead. So I would often be the person who would just not dance at a club, or I did not attend clubs. Or if I did attend clubs, I would be the guy kind of sitting, or I'd go have a smoke break. But I don't want to dance. I don't want to dance with anybody. And yet, it's kind of interesting because when I watch people dance, it seems pretty cool. It seems pretty cool. Watching people dance is cool. They seem very happy. It's very expressive. It's apparently very good for you. Good for you. And this morning, I was making my breakfast, and suddenly I started to move my feet. And for the first time in my life, my feet were in tune with the beat. And I tried another song, and my feet were in rhythm. For the first time, literally in my life, I am moving to the beat. I found this to be completely profound because I promise you I did not take dance classes. My girlfriend's been pushing me for 3 years to go and take some dance class with her. I was just like, nah. I say one thing, but I mean another thing. I say I'm not interested. I mean I'm going to be really bad at it, and I don't want to make an ass of myself. Here's the thing. I had no rhythm. And for the first time in my life, I had rhythm. What did I do differently this morning that I don't do any other morning? I did everything one thing at a time. And something inside my brain just unlocked. And I don't know what it is. But I will tell you this. Every app that you use is designed to hijack your brain. There are labs out there where Netflix and Amazon are figuring out how to make you more hooked to their platform. I'll tell you, I think I mentioned earlier, I bought a new TV, right? The old TV I had was this 2012 Samsung, and it did not have the new Netflix platform, which means that when you clicked on it, it was the old interface of Netflix. The old interface of Netflix was, if y'all remember it, it was like the 2014 version. That's the last Netflix that I have seen on my TV. It does not feature trailers. It does not have an automatic setting for the next play. So you don't end up binge watching because you literally have to play. You have to go and press play next episode. It doesn't automatically play the next episode. It does not play trailers. It does not queue out. It's not as fast. You know what I mean? And I realized that the new TV we got, suddenly Netflix is so much more addictive. I could sit there for 10 hours and watch films now. I never did that before. I would always be miffed that someone would be like, oh, I just watched this for 12 hours. I'm like, how? How'd you watch it for 12 hours? Maybe one time or 2 times there's been a show where I'm like, okay, You or Runaway, I got to watch 1 episode, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. I'll binge watch before. But how quickly I fell into it with this new version of Netflix on my TV, it just raised my awareness to, oh shit, this thing is hijacking my brain. It's literally designed to give me something. What is it giving me though? Is it giving me value? Is it giving me money? Is it giving me food? Is it giving me nourishment? Is it giving me health? No. What it's giving me is distraction. What is a podcast giving me? Most likely distraction. What is, junk food giving me? Most likely numbing. Oh shit. So every single thing that is, hijacking your dopamine centers is numbing you. Numbing you from what though? You got to figure that out for you. Because whatever it is that you are trying to numb, it does not go away. Pain, regret, remorse, anxiety, whatever. Deal with it because I promise you, no matter how many pieces of newspaper you put over that dog shit in your living room, at some point, you're going to have to clean it up. The newspaper works for a day until you need another newspaper, until you need another newspaper, until you need another newspaper, at which point, at some point, you're just going to have 800 newspapers piled on top. And it's just disgusting. And it just becomes harder and harder and harder to clear up. Learn to deal with your problems as they're happening. I'm learning to deal with mine as they're happening. I'm realizing right now. Okay, final point. Exactly final point. And I'll leave it at this. There's a lot of wisdom to absorb in 2 days. And I'm trying to sum it up in like 20 minutes for anyone who's curious about this stuff. I used to identify with losers. I don't want to get too specific about winners and losers in life, but you know who I mean when I say losers and when I say winners. When I was young, I hated rich people because I was poor. I hated powerful people because I was powerless. I hated privileged people because I felt myself underprivileged. I hated people with homes because I did not have a home. I hated people with parents because I did not have parents. I hated people whose parents were not divorced because my parents were divorced. I hated people who were doing better than me, and therefore I hated winners. Why? Because I identified with being a loser. This is universal. People hate the Lakers. People hate Bill Gates. People hate Donald Trump for a completely different set of reasons, but they hate him regardless. They've hated him all the way through. They hated Steve Jobs. They hate the Boston Celtics. They hate the New York Knicks. Why? Why do you not hear so many people hating on the Houston Rockets? Why do so many people not hate the Memphis Grizzlies? Why? Why are there not like entire groups devoted to hating on Desmond Bain, but everybody hates LeBron James? Because the truth is, most of us identify with losers. We call them underdogs. We call them rags to riches stories, but we identify with losers. I got to tell you, when I was younger, I identified with people who were criminals because it felt like that was the identification process of where I was heading. Those were the people that didn't judge me, so I liked them. And I'm not like people who were clean cut, wearing polos and, smelling of money because I thought they hated me. I thought they looked down on me. So I didn't want to identify with them. And so I didn't root for them. I rooted against them. This bled over into everything. If I found out that two teams that I'd never heard of in a sport that I do not observe, and one team had won the last 14 championships and one team had never won a championship, suddenly I'm rooting for the team that's never won a championship. Fuck the team that won 14 championships. But the question is, why? Why? Why do you hate the team that won 14 championships? Shouldn't you like the team that won 14 championships? Isn't the 7-time gold medalist better and more worth celebrating than the person who's won no gold medals? But why do we celebrate the person who hasn't won a gold medal and then hate the exact same person after they've won 7? I'll tell you why. Number one, obviously, because most of us identify in life as losers. I'm using the word loser specifically because it's a very triggering word, and I don't want you to take it too literally. I don't mean it in a derogatory sense. I just mean as someone who is not in the key position of power in society, right? If I tell you a story about a boss or let's just say, for instance, I tell you a story about a landlord, right? This landlord, let's just say I have a landlord. I do not. I've never had a landlord, and I'm very proud of that. But let me just say, let's just pretend I did have a landlord, and I tell you that I hung up a painting, and it was against my lease, and my landlord is kicking me out. And this guy has 28 properties. You hate this guy. You don't even know him. You hate him. Why? Because he has 28 properties and you might have one if you're lucky. And most likely, if you're like most Canadians, you have none. Or actually, not most Canadians, because most Canadians, I do believe, own property. But 28 properties is excessive. But why should you hate somebody who has 28 properties? Why should you hate someone who has money? Why should you hate someone who invested in crypto? You think, I mean, I've already admitted I did not invest in crypto and you know, I was wrong. Do you think I hate people who have Bitcoin or Ethereum? You think I hate people who invested in Bitcoin? I do not. I do not hate them at all. I don't hate people with money. And here's the funny thing. When I was 18, my mindset on this shifted. I just met some different people. And suddenly I flipped it. And I started identifying with the winners. I wanted to defend the winners. So if you won 12 gold medals and you were up against someone who had 0 gold medals, I was rooting for you to get your 13th gold medal. And if you were, you know, some rich dude who's like super, super rich and you're being sued by some poor employee, I was rooting for the rich dude. I was just like, whatever. And you know what? It's weird. I didn't hold it for long. I held it for about 3 to 4 years in which I thought I became a bit of a douchebag. And in those 4 years, I probably did more to set myself up in life than I've ever done before. I became hyper aggressive. I became very, very confident, and I became relentlessly ambitious. The things that I did for myself in those 4 years, I'm probably still coasting off of the benefits. I bought this place during that 4-year plan. It's very difficult to become what you hate, but very easy to become what you don't realize you hate. We are what we identify with. You know that? We are. We will become more and more what we root for. And subconsciously, if you have this perspective in your mind that winners are bad, you will train your brain to lose. You're training yourself to lose. Root for people who win in life. Root for people who are healthy. Every single thing in our Instagram feed is designed to make us feel worse about ourselves. The shame and misery cycle is endless. I scroll TikTok right now and I see perfect teeth, perfect skin, perfect life, perfect vacation, perfect house, perfect car, perfect, perfect, perfect. I feel bad. I don't, to be honest. But if I'm an average person, I feel bad. I see all these people having so much fun. I'm sitting at home. Maybe I'm not happy with my life and I feel miserable. What do you do when you feel miserable? You disassociate. You numb. And what is a great thing to numb? More scrolling. More scrolling. The same thing that creates the thought of misery becomes the same thing that creates the pleasure, right? Yo, tobacco companies mastered this. You don't have energy because you smoke. You don't have health because you smoke. Your breath sucks because you smoke. Your teeth are yellow because you smoke. You have gum disease because you smoke. And you smoke because you're miserable, but you're miserable because your brain is being hijacked by the nicotine. You realize how insidious a cycle this is, but how addictive it is. You see, the shame cycle is endless. If you let it be, you must stop it. And stopping it requires discomfort. You have to be discomfort. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable. So to tie all of this together will probably require a detective like Columbo to draw all the lines between everything I said. It was not a very rehearsed thing. I'm speaking off the cuff and speaking from my heart. I just wanted to say, you are designed to fail. Your brain is designed to keep you safe in a world that is designed for you to fail. Every app that you download, every website you visit, every shop, that you go to is designed to take you further and further away from what you actually need. Your brain, which you probably think is in the best interest trying to keep you alive or trying to keep you happy is not trying to keep you happy at all. It's just trying to keep you safe. Your brain is keeping you safe, but it cannot determine what is a real threat and what is a fake threat. And so companies out there have determined for your brain what is a fake threat and what is a real threat. Missing out on that early sale on the concert that all your friends are going to is a threat. You don't want to be the idiot who missed out. You don't want to pay later, so pay now. You know, after I shopped for doors for 1 minute online this morning, how many door ads I got? At literally my entire Facebook. You would think I was a door repairman. Like I looked at Facebook, it was like 40 door ads. I logged on Instagram, like 10 door ads. I'm like, yo, bro, what is this? What is this world in which we're living, in which every single algorithm has hacked every element of my life? And it's like, basically, it's so addictive, bro. Your alarm rings in the morning. You flick this on. Why? Who's the genius that decided to put every fucking thing in the palm of your hand? You think it's a good thing? You think that's progress? If you're in control, it's progress. If it's in control, it's not progress. It's a massive regression. Because I'll tell you right now, I said that thing was going to be the last thing, but this is really the last thing. My bad. I'm just going a little bit long. How many of you have been talking to somebody, and let's just say you're one of those people who's not doing this shit while you're talking to people, you know what I mean? Like just, fuck those people. No. Don't do that to me. I will literally walk away. And I hope that you have the presence of mind to walk away from somebody who does that to you, because this is very rude. Don't do that. But let's just say you're not one of those people, and you are one of those people that, let's just say you're at a coffee shop with your friend, and your friend goes to the washroom. What's the first thing you do to fill that silence in the 2 minutes that your friend's in the washroom? You flick on your phone to see if you got any messages, you got any emails. Why? My challenge to you. The next time you're waiting for a bus, the next time you're waiting for a train, the next time you wake up, and do something that is not as stimulating as the thing you want to do. This will be my parting note for you. And I promise you, if you implement this in your life will change for the better, guaranteed. So our brain compares. Always. It's always comparing options. Okay. If I tell you behind door number 1 is $1 million and behind door number 1 is $1 billion, your brain can compute that door number 2 is the better door, right? If I tell you behind door number 1 is a poisonous snake and behind door number 2 is a grasshopper, you may not like grasshoppers, but I'll tell you, you're going to the grasshopper door, right? So what I'm saying is, if everything is a comparison, then hijack the comparison. Now, right now, I know that I got a lot of emails to get to. I know I got to write a script. I know I got a screening to plan next month. I got some videos to edit. I got some, basketball to catch up on. I got some writing to do. I got a lot of stuff to do that feels very administrative. I also have a task over the next 12 days while my girlfriend is still in BC to renovate the home, because place is falling apart, gone to shit, hasn't been renovated in years. It's just been falling apart. All of these things seem a lot less entertaining than Netflix. A lot of these things feel less entertaining than doing lives. Most of these things feel less entertaining than browsing Instagram. So introduce a better option. Let's say nobody works 24/7. So let's just say I'm sitting down at the table and I'm working on something that is very hard and very tedious and maybe a little bit frustrating. Maybe I'm going to fail at it a little bit. Maybe it's going to be a little bit headache. Maybe I'm not going to be super organized and it's going to make me feel uncomfortable. Fine. The minute I pull myself away from that for 2 seconds to check my phone, instead of checking my phone and doing something rewarding, what I'm going to do is something even less rewarding than that. I'm going to stare at a wall, or I'm going to go do push-ups, or I'm going to eat some food that makes me just like raw broccoli or something like that. Do you know how sweet a strawberry tastes once you cut out candy bars and chocolate bars and sugar and processed sugar? Do you know how sweet, you know how much you thirst for a fucking strawberry or a blueberry once you no longer have ice cream and chocolate in your life. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. Do you know how much you would thirst for a gym break if you work at a job all day that's like super hard and draining on your eyes? You know how much you would thirst going for a walk with your dog? Do you see what I'm saying? You need to introduce better comparative options in your life, I think, right? Because we are all comparison makers and meaning making machines. And so when you have shitty people in your life and shitty ideas and shitty thoughts, there's always the option of better than that. The problem is better than shitty might still be shit. So take all the shitty habits and all the shitty people out of your life, and you'll be left with only good options. Now you can pick the lesser of two good options. Guess what? Still a good option, right? So that is a really random way to end this live. I think the reason that I often, especially after these really tough blowout games, end up going into these types of talks is because I realize that the Raptors themselves, and perhaps this podcast as well, can sometimes act as a numbing agent, something to distract ourselves. Okay. There is a lot of research behind self-inflicted death. I don't want to say the word rates and team sports success in a particular country or a particular city. There's a lot of that. Okay. I can tell you for sure, if I measured the average happiness of every Torontonian the day after the Raptors won a championship, it was probably very high. Sports serve a very meaningful part in our lives. We watch it partially to distract ourselves, but also to give ourselves something to be happy about, something to be distracted by, something to maybe root for. And I think these lives can also, serve a similar purpose in terms of, filling some noise. And maybe I'm the first podcaster to just say, it's okay for silence. Just be silent. You don't have to be stimulated all the time. Because if you're like a lot of people, you're starting your mornings out with a highly processed sugar meal while smoking a cigarette, while having a coffee, while scrolling your phone, while scrolling an app in the background. Now tell me, all that stimulation, now tell me why starting the novel that you want to write seems so hard. Stare at a wall, the novel feels like a break. It's beautiful. Anyway, peace, guys. Have a good one. Thanks a lot. Cheers. Oh, shoot. I almost forgot. I'm so sorry. Noble Venom. Appreciate the super chat, my guy. When the draft board's coming out, it is coming out. I want to say after March Madness. I want to watch March Madness. I've been watching a lot of basketball lately. We're watching like four or five games a day, which is insanity absorption of basketball. But if I'm going to take this channel to the next level, I need to learn even more about basketball in terms of international basketball, in terms of college basketball. I want to be doing some good draft analysis this year. I feel like I did okay last year, but I want to be better this year. So that's going to require watching full game tapes. And man, there's so many games. So I just want to absorb in it. I'm going to consider the Raptors being bad this year as a bit of a blessing in disguise. This draft is supposedly weak, but from the Raptors' perspective, it could be transformative because even in a weak draft, if you find 3 rotation level players with these 3 picks, you win 100%. Because that's a lottery pick, a borderline lottery pick, and a very early second rounder that all turn into rotation players for you. That is a lot of cheap salary. And those 2 first round picks, that'll be 4 years of guaranteed money on a super discounted deal. So there's a lot riding on the Raptors getting these picks right. And also, of course, on the Raptors actually keeping their San Antonio pick. It's weird calling it a San Antonio pick, given that that's our pick, but nevertheless. So yeah, give it through March. And I think April, what are you talking? April, May, June. That should be all draft stuff. Okay. So yes, we will have 2.5 months of trade talks and draft talks and video essays on analytics. Just I know I keep asking for patience as I work through some of this stuff, but it's required. Like there's a process through which you go through life, and I'm learning more now than ever that you can't skip steps. Like you have to do things in the order that they must be done. And for me, organizing my life and organizing my mind so that I can go into these labs as the best version of myself is very important. Like today on the panel when I went on Player's Choice, it was really cool because I felt like I was super calm and I wasn't nervous. I wasn't anxious. There's a lot of people watching. Like you understand, like it was, I think at the peak, it was like 1,400 people watching. And I mean, you're in a debate with 4 or 5 dudes who really do speak fluent basketball. Like they understand basketball really well. And you might have a debating point with them. And I mean, I feel kind of funny because I defended Desmond Bain so hard and he's probably had the worst game of his life tonight. So people are probably going to think I'm an idiot tomorrow, but I don't really care. It's one game. But what I'm trying to say is that a lot of doors open for us in life. It's not really up to us, you know, what happens once we walk through it, but just to walk through as the best version of ourselves and have a lot of opportunities to meet a lot of people over the next, 10 years. My goal right now is just to show up prepared. My goal right now is just to show up as the best version of myself that I can. And in order to do that, I must take care of myself. That's all I'm saying. Peace, guys. Have a good one.